Old Business Long Range Planning Committee, Mr. Hinshaw.
We did say we would give you an update regularly, and so just some of these slides are repeat slides, but just to keep the community and you all up to date on where we're headed with our long-range planning committee. Our next meeting will be on the 11th, and we'll be discussing the high school and co-curricular and extracurricular activities. And you can see the remaining meetings that will occur. Our goal is to have a recommendation for the board on May 10th, if our timeline, if we're able to stay with this timeline. The input categories, I just remind you, these are the areas that we're collecting input from multiple sources, obviously staff, faculty, our administrative teams, as well as community members. Some of our administrative team have had meetings with community members, students. Dr. Pritchett met with students to talk about their ideas and entered those as well in our system that collects input. Just to give you an update on the last two areas or two facilities that we met on, these are just some topics. It's not to say that these are going to be necessarily recommendations, but just wanted to give you an update. As you can see, transportation and maintenance area, the discussion with the committee and the input related to adequate facility space, parking space, traffic flow, those things that are mentioned, as well as district-wide shipping and receiving and storage space when you start talking about keeping track of surplus and making sure that if building A needs a piece of equipment that's sitting in building C, that someone actually knows where it is and can put it in the right place at the right time. So those are some ideas that have come through our discussion. At the Technical Institute, we kind of centered around three major topics. As you can see there, some possible program expansion. Also, there's some infrastructure issues with the water supply system in a couple of the wings, so that was a discussion. And then just the overall age of the facility. I did put up there, a lot of times we talk about a new wing being added. We just added a wing, and of course the high schools had, if you ask a certain teacher, they'll say, well, which new wing are you talking about? Because they've been around long enough to know that we've had 3 or 4 new wings. So I put up here, because people, I think, lose track, the main building on transportation is 34 years old, and Rolla Technical Institute, where it's located now, the first 2 wings were built 43 years ago. So it kind of initiated some discussion today in our office with some of the folks that graduated from this high school that work for us, and it was kind of interesting to hear their stories. Some of them went to 4 or 5 different elementary schools that don't stand anymore, it seems like, or they were closed, and so kind of went through a history timeline. But I think that's important to realize that the facilities aren't new, and especially certain areas of the facilities. And so you see that bottom bullet there, just needs related to a facility that's 43 years old. We do a great job, our maintenance department does a great job of working to stay ahead. But there are some major things that sometimes, when you start talking about heating and air conditioning over the last 43 years and how it's changed and those type issues, and when do you finally go in and change those systems, and maybe quit repairing and replacing piece and part. So it's just an interesting, and I think it's been a really good process. Our remaining input deadlines, this is just up here. There is a link on this site, so actually anybody could go to this site and put in if they have an opinion on one of these facilities. They could put in information about what they think the district ought to maybe consider for long-range planning. So we welcome folks in the community. If you're tied to one of these facilities and you're familiar with it, you don't have to answer every question. But if you see something that you think over the next 10 years the community, if you believe our school district should have a vision for maybe some type of programming or facility that might meet some programming needs, we'd encourage that. So if there's any questions, we've got a couple board members that are on the committee as well. So are any comments from you all that are on the committee? But that's the update. Anything?
It's a really interesting process. I'm learning a lot. So through the process, I appreciate how a lot of suggestions are able to be made and nothing is necessarily decided yet. It's just all kind of brainstorming. So whether we're talking about something that is a future building maintenance in the budget or whether it's something that's a down the road, building project, there's none of that's decided. It's just about what do we see the future needs of our students and our buildings, and it's been great. I like it.
It's a very, very thorough process.
And as meeting with our staff, and behind each one of these meetings includes a meeting, 2 or 3 meetings. I'm having meetings with the building leadership teams, and Monday we have a meeting scheduled. I have a meeting scheduled with band, drama, and vocal music, and just went blank. The library, media center at the high school. I've got that staff coming to a meeting on Monday to discuss, because some of the information that the committee will talk about next week centers around those areas. And so I just want to touch base with those specific sponsors and teachers and get a voice from them as well. So we'll do that. And I think it's real important to understand that all the other things that weren't listed up here are still important things for the district to look at, consider, and kind of go. You have a buildings and grounds plan, and you have a long-range vision plan, and they run side by side, and many times they are intertwined. Some things cost more than you could do just in a single budget year on a normal budget. And so they cross back and forth. And we had 23 pages worth of input for the committee to look at next week on the high school. Now, a lot of it centers around those areas that I just talked about, but there's all kinds of tentacles from those ideas that are really interesting concepts. So it's exciting, it's fun, and I think it will. The real benefit is our district can have a vision. You all quite are aware of how valuable the last one was in allowing us to move forward as a district and as a community and to improve opportunities for students. And that's really what it's about, is to try to plan, but still have flexibility in what needs to be done over the next 10 years or however long. So anyway, appreciate it.
Okay.